Hi everybody, it's Dr. Simon. You guys have completed week 3 and we're moving on to week 4, and I want to tell you just how great of a job everybody did last week in week 3. I'm very pleased at how things are moving along. I do want to go over the week 3 assignment before we move into week 4 so that you understand what the expectations were and what we can do to help improve as we go forward. One of the things that I want each of you to know and I want you to understand is this is going to be a process. Just like counseling is a process, as you're moving through this graduate program, this is a process for you. And so it's not where you start, it's where we're going to get to in the end. So right now you've submitted your first paper. For many of you, this is your first paper in graduate school. So I want to go over, I've looked at each of the papers that was submitted, and I was able to compile some strengths that I saw in the papers and some areas for improvement. Each of you is going to have an opportunity to do revisions to that paper before you receive your final grade. I want the final evaluation of your paper to be an evaluation based upon the best information that you're able to present. So we're looking at the historical overview papers, and the strengths that I was able to see in your papers was I really appreciated the hard work and the participation that went into these papers. I could see how you were incorporating the information that you learned in week 2 on APA, and so that was a great addition. Many of you had wonderful title pages, and I saw the reference pages, and many uses of great academic citations. So I want you to keep that up. There was also, the papers included factual information. Not many of you, I can't think of any, if you did, I'll make a note and let you know. But I didn't have papers that were based upon opinion. They were based upon factual information that you were able to find in your text and other resources. The timeliness of the submissions. Students submitted their work by the Friday at 11:59 p.m. deadline, which is great. One of the things that we work on in this program is not just helping you just with those listening skills as a counselor, but also those professionalism skills as a counselor. As a counselor, we want to make sure that we turn in any paperwork that is needed within the deadline, whether that's something that's needed for a student who may need a recommendation letter by a certain time in order to get into college, or whether it's turning in paperwork that's needed for insurance companies for those of you who are going LPC. It was also really great to see that your papers didn't include a lot of fluff or excessive use of quotations. So it seems like you took the heed to my announcement of making sure that your papers contain no more than 2 direct quotes. So I want to thank you again for making sure that you're reading and you're adhering to the instructions that are put forth for the papers. Now, some of the things that I do want us to work on is how to move our papers towards graduate level writing. Now, I'm fully aware that for most of you, this is your very first paper in grad school, and so we have some areas that we can help you as we transition you from an undergraduate way of thinking or writing that you do in school settings and public school settings to what that needs to look like now that you're going on the professional track to being a professional counselor. So one of the things to make sure is that you are including resources. So your reference page should include more sources than just the textbook and the sources supplied by the professor. You want to make sure that you are demonstrating that you are able to go out and find information that's been created and published from the counseling world to help answer counseling related questions or issues. So if the only reference that you use was your textbook, when you complete your next paper, make sure that you also include other journals. You have that counseling research starter that's embedded within the class, and so you want to use that to help. It's really hard for me to give you a hard I want to see this many references, because it kind of depends on which reference you choose. Some references have more information than others. But just for a ballpark, I would say for most of these papers, you need to have at least 3. At least for the ones that are in this course, because these papers are kind of small, between 2 to 3 pages. So at least 3. As you continue in the program, you'll see that there are some professors and some courses that are requiring 10 or more references. So you need to get into the habit of being able to use the library to find peer-reviewed articles. You also want to make sure that the information that you're presenting in your paper is comprehensive. So for this particular paper, it was a paper about the historical overview. So you want to provide a comprehensive history from the 1900s all the way up to present day 2017 and the future, because that was part of the assignment, was not just to give me information about the history, but what are also the future trends and things that may be impacting the counseling profession in the future. So if your historical overview ended in the 1950s, you have some additional time periods that need to be covered, because there's a lot more that took place than just what happened in 1900 to 1950. You also want to make sure that you are understanding what the page count means. So when we are giving a page count, in this particular paper, it was a 2 to 3 page count. Those pages only count the body of the paper. So your title page, your abstract, your reference page, those don't count in the 2 to 3 page guideline. You also want to understand that 2 pages means 2 full pages. That means from the top of the page all the way to the bottom. That counts as 1. And then your second one is at the top all the way to the bottom. That's 2 pages. So if you turned in 1.5 pages of content, that did not meet the 2-page requirement. And so that's something you're going to want to look at as well. Also, make sure that you are using the sample paper that's provided. If the professor includes a sample paper, they're showing you what they are looking for when they're grading. And each of us, because we're covering different topics and there are different skills that we're teaching you along the way, we're looking for different components. Because this is your first course, I'm only looking for level 1 headings. And so you need to make sure that there are level 1 headings. That was one of the most common things that I saw that did not appear in papers, were the level 1 headings. As you continue, especially when you go to the research course, you may go all the way up to level 3 or 4 heading because of the type of papers that you're writing in there. But in this one, because it's the beginning, I want you to get used to at least doing level 1 headings. This is part of our APA structure. This helps to divide the paper. This is how one of those components of the counseling voice. If you're struggling on how to determine what do I use to create a level 1 heading, I don't know what I'm supposed to use. One of the things that I encourage you to do is to look at what the instructor has put as the criteria that they need in that paper. So on this paper, we discussed the historical overview. So you could have I put early stages of counseling, but you could have called it historical overview. Current trends, that was something else that I asked from the paper. Counseling and technology, and the conclusion. So these are examples of how you can divide it up. Based upon how you've done your paper and how you've organized it, you're going to determine what those headings are. And it's going to vary from person to person based upon how you wrote your paper. But you have to have them in there. That's part of that APA checklist, is I asked for you to, excuse me, I asked you to go through your paper and to write those down. So if I were writing a paper, these would have been example of headings that I would have used in my historical overview paper. You also want to make sure that you save it in Word. When I do go through and edit, I use the track changes feature, and I can't use that if it's in a PDF. So make sure that you upload your papers in Word. Make sure that you're following proper writing structure, and you're indenting your paragraphs, you're adding a title, and you have the correct use of a running head. The running head feature is something that you're going to have to use using the tools feature in Microsoft Word. So this isn't something that you just simply type on your paper. You're going to actually have to go into the tools feature, pull down the header, and then you're going to need to choose different first page. That was also something that I saw was commonly missed. Because running head only appears on page 1 and it doesn't appear on page 2 and throughout, you'll need to check that box in your tools feature in Microsoft Word that says different first page. What I suggest is you go to YouTube and you can do a YouTube search for how to create a running head, and based upon the version of Microsoft that you have, there's a lot of YouTubes out there that'll show you how to do it step by step. I'm going to be honest with you, when I was in grad school, that one gave me the blues because I kept switching computers, and from one computer to the next, it kind of varies. But once you get a hang of it, it's not a problem, and it becomes something that's second nature. But it's that first time learning how to actually do it that you'll need to do. So go ahead and just do a YouTube search for how to create a running head using Microsoft Word and whatever version you have, if it's 2016, 2010, whatever version you have, you should be able to pull up a YouTube and it'll help you. Writing tone. You want to model your writing tone to what you read in a counseling peer-reviewed journal article. That's one of the reasons that we do want you to go out and find your own research and find your own journals, because it helps you to learn how to research, but those also help you to understand what that tone is, because when you're writing, your writing should look like their writing, because they're counseling professionals and that's what you're aiming towards. So I understand that we're at the beginning, but that's the end goal, is that you have that kind of tone in your papers. Because counseling professionals, and that includes master's level counseling professionals, they research and publish to help expand the knowledge within the field, because that is one of our ethical obligations, is to make sure that we are giving back to counseling. There should be depth to your writing. So not just a summary of the chapter. If you only read and you only wrote your paper based upon the timeline that was given in the book, that was really kind of clear. So you want to make sure that you're doing proper research and you're giving me something to understand, that you have a full understanding of the historical overview, because this is something that you will see on your counseling exams. So for your certification or licensure. If you did not include the future of counseling and how technology impacts counseling, then you missed that component. That was probably the most missed area as far as content, was what does the future of counseling look like? And so if you don't have anything about technology in your paper, then you missed this part, because technology is a huge component of what the future of counseling looks like. So I did add inside of the sources, you had some information in there about distance credentialing counseling. I tried to give you a little information to kind of gear you in that way. So if you didn't pick up on that, and I'm telling you now, make sure that you have something in there that's telling us about how technology is impacting the counseling field. So what's next? You have an opportunity. All students have the opportunity to make corrections to their paper based on the feedback that I just provided in this PowerPoint. Those revisions are due September 16th at 11:59. I want you to give me enough time so that I can go, after you submit your final product, I want to have enough time to go back and give you comments before your next paper is due, so that you can include those comments in making paper number 2 even better than paper number 1. So as long as you submit it on time, Friday by 11:59, you can still earn full credit on this revision. If you did not submit your paper by Friday at 11:59, you can still submit, but you will receive a 20-point late penalty, unless you contacted me before it was due and you made arrangements. Please remember that if you are going to be late, the best thing for you to do is to contact me beforehand. Consider this like at work. If you have an assignment that's due at work or something that needs to be turned in, you want to let your boss know beforehand, hey, this is going to be late, I'm not going to be here, whatever the situation may be. But these arrangements need to be made before the due date. So if you did not make an arrangement to turn it in late prior to the due date, then there will be a 20-point late penalty. I also encourage you to schedule an appointment to go over your paper with the Olu Writing Center. This is a resource that you're paying for in your fees, and so it's available to you even as an online student. They do have virtual meetings, and you can stay in your living room, and they'll be here in San Antonio, and they will go over your paper with you. Now, they're going to work with you together, and so they'll help you with editing, they'll help you with APA, sentence structure, trying to get that voice and try and add that depth and make your sentences and your writing structure a little more complex with higher level sentences and that nature. So it's a great resource to have someone else help you as well. And so they take appointments. I think they take appointments every day, and it's something that you can do virtually. If you have any questions, any specific questions, please feel free to contact me and let me know. This is an opportunity for you to do some self-revision and self-editing. So if you have a question, it needs to be something specific. I'm not going to go through and I'm not going to edit or revise your paper. When I go through and I edit it and I make the revisions, I'm grading at the same time. So if you have a specific question, hey, Dr. Simon, there was a citation, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Can you help lead me in the right way? So something specific, more than welcome to go ahead and contact and ask that and let me know. If you are going to decide not to take this opportunity and you want me to grade your paper as is, let me know and I will. But once I grade it, that grade is going to be final. Once I enter that into the grade book, that's that. But if you're not going to take me up, let me know and I can go ahead and I can grade it so that you can have that so you can move forward. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And once again, this is about making you better and we're in this together and I'm here to help and support you. Have a great one.